This isn't just an app. This is your source for real news, not fake news. Straight from the campaign and the president himself. This is your direct line to give input on key campaign issues. Your portal to register voters. Host MAGA meetups, your scheduler, and all-access pass. Your application on becoming a Trump team leader. Earn points, get rewarded, get frontline access. Get the presidential photo. Oh, and did we mention, this is your personal shopper too? So just to repeat, this isn't just an app. This is your tool to keep America great. Join the army for Trump and download the app today.
Trump campaign is now reaching voters online.
You are seeing the President of the United States. Look at the lines.
You join our movement.
A lot of President Trump supporters here.
Greatest movement in the history of our country. The silent majority is stronger than ever before.
For all of the comments that Joe Biden has made that have been bigoted, for all of the policies that Joe Biden has made that have really hurt the black community and set us back, Joe Biden needs to apologize and needs to stay in his basement.
But if you just take a step back for a second, think about the way that China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, all of our adversaries around the world are salivating, thinking that this guy is going to be the possible president of the United States.
What we would have is a systemic recession if it was a Joe Biden administration come November, because he would start implementing policies that we know are regressive in nature, that we know are not good for the economy. It would be about higher taxes and more regulation.
President Trump delivered the hottest economy on record that had to be artificially interrupted by the coronavirus. When we compare the work President Trump did to build that strong economic foundation with basement barely there Joe Biden.
Behind Biden is a machinery that is very dangerous, very progressive.
You want a leader, you want someone who stands up and tells it like it is, who tells the truth no matter what this group or that group or the media and some source or another might say. The only choice is Donald J. Trump.
We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will make America great again.
Welcome to Team Trump Online.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Women for Trump Empower Hour. I'm Dr. Gina Loudon, co-chair of Women for Trump, and I am so excited about our panel tonight. I have with me two brilliant women who've been working tirelessly to help re-elect our amazing president. And with me tonight, Ronna McDaniel, chairwoman of the Republican National Committee, and also Pam Bondi, co-chair of Women for Trump. Thanks for being here, ladies. Are you ready to get started?
Yes. Absolutely.
All right. Now, under President Trump's leadership, the greatest economic comeback in American history has begun. Who could believe he'd have to do this twice? The economy added back 2.5 million jobs. That's just in May, the largest one-month job gain in U.S. history. President Trump spoke about this during a trip to Arizona just last week. Let's watch this clip.
I think we're doing really well. The jobs are back. We were doing unbelievably well until the pandemic, the virus came over from China. And that really, we had to close our country. We saved millions of lives by doing it, as you know, millions and millions of lives. And now we're putting our country back, and it's going very quickly. The jobs are up to a level that nobody's ever seen before. 2 weeks ago, we had a jobs number, the best in history, the best that we've ever had. We had a retail sales number last week that was unbelievable. It's coming back very fast, coming back a lot faster than anybody thought possible. And I think you're going to see something very special. So we built the strongest economy in history once, then we had to close it in order to save potentially millions of lives. We did it. Did a great job with it. The people did a great job with it. Now we're rebuilding the economy. The third quarter will be really great, which is coming up. The third quarter is going to be very, very good. Next year is going to be one of the best years we've ever had.
Chairwoman, President Trump, we think about this all the time. I don't know about you. I just can't picture anyone else doing what he has to do, rebuilding this economy after he's already built it once. He truly is uniquely positioned to be the only person capable of renewing, restoring, and rebuilding the greatest economy in the history of the world, isn't he? Tell us about why.
Well, Gina, you're so right. And this is part of the reason why President Trump got elected. He's a businessman. He came to Washington. He said, we can do better. Wages were stagnant. Manufacturing jobs were fleeing this country under the Biden-Obama administration. And he said, enough is enough. And through deregulation and tax cuts and policies that were meant to help working Americans, he built this phenomenal economy with record low unemployment. And now we're already seeing, coming out of this pandemic, it's happening again. He is the best person to rebuild it. And let's not forget, Joe Biden has never had a job outside of Washington. He's never started a business. He's never done anything except be a Washington swamp preacher. There is no way he is going to be equipped to build back this economy in a time when so many Americans desperately need better jobs to come back, higher wages, things that President Trump has delivered on before, and he's best equipped to do it again.
I mean, something you pointed to, Ron, I think is so important. We contrast the president who had built the greatest economy in history with Joe Biden during his time in the White House, who oversaw the slowest and weakest economic recovery in our country since World War II. Pam, I don't even want to think of what our economy would look like if, God forbid, Joe Biden were put in charge of leading our country in 2021. Can you imagine?
No, and Gina, that's right. Exactly what Ronna just said. I mean, President Trump has created the greatest economy in our history. We had to artificially shut it down, and there's no one else who can bring it back. What do we have to compare that to? Joe Biden's 44 years of failure in office. What did he say about COVID? Just to give an example, that it's an opportunity for him to raise taxes. Can you believe that? The first thing he wants to do, eliminate President Trump's tax cuts. He called for, what did he say about the tax cuts for the tax increases for the middle class, the tax cuts? $2,000 tax cuts everyone got. He called them negligible. Negligible. Can you believe that? He wants to undo all of that too. It's unbelievable. The Green New Deal, what would that do? That would destroy 3.4 million jobs in oil, gas, and energy. It's unbelievable what he would do to our economy, and that's just the start of it.
Joe Biden and President Trump have such a different vision for the future, as you point to, Pam, for the American worker. Check out what President Trump said in Wisconsin last week, and I want to get your reactions.
To this administration, you know that American workers like you are a national treasure. You are indeed victory at sea, you know, victory at sea. That's what you lead us to. Your patriotism cannot be outsourced. Your 8 decades of industrial heritage cannot be replicated anywhere in the world. That's why we're protecting our defense and our defensive industrial base, which we're building up stronger and stronger and stronger.
Ronna, President Trump's America First agenda is just on full display in that clip and couldn't really be any further from the globalist agenda of Biden. How does that benefit America?
You know, I'm from Michigan, so what he's saying there in Wisconsin resonates so strongly with me because we were from a state where under Biden and Obama, they were letting jobs leave our country. They were letting China eat our lunch. They didn't care about manufacturing jobs. They told us they were gone for good. And President Trump said, no way. We need to make better trade deals. So he passed USMCA. He put tariffs on China. He said, I am no longer going to allow the American worker to be taken advantage of, and I'm going to fight for America first. And that is exactly what he has done as president. And that's why he resonates so much in states like mine that were flyover states for Democrats. They ignored us. They took our votes for granted. We were the forgotten men and women, like he said, who pay our taxes, who are patriots, who love this country. And that is why President Trump has received so much energy and enthusiasm from the middle of the country because he understood our plight and he has made it better as 500,000 manufacturing jobs have come back and we're just getting started.
You know, what you say makes so much sense. Pam, hiding Biden, he can't really hide from this globalist agenda no matter how long he stays in that basement, can he?
No, and you know why he can't? Because he's got a record. He's got a record. Look at what he did when he supported wholeheartedly China. That was his thing with the World Trade Organization. That cost 60,000 factory workers jobs. That's a lot. He can't hide what he did in 2001 when he voted for the Iraqi war. It cost thousands of American lives and trillions of dollars. The guy keeps moving further to the left because he feels like he has to, because of AOC, Bernie Sanders, and those people are his real base.
Absolutely right. All right, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back with more Women for Trump Empower Hour. Stick around. We'll be right back with you.
As we have already seen, his America First agenda has lifted all Americans up and have empowered them with true economic emancipation that has once again made the American dream possible. That's why I want you to text EMPOWER to 88022 right now if you want to keep America great and deliver 4 more years for President Donald J. Trump.
Joe Biden's failed old liberal ideas would crush our economy just as it's recovering. Higher taxes on families, crippling regulations, trade deals that ship jobs to China. President Trump led us to the strongest economy in history. He did it his way, not the Washington way. And he's doing it again. Renewing, restoring, rebuilding. 2.5 million new jobs, the biggest jobs increase ever. And he's just getting started.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
All right, welcome back. I'm Dr. Gina Loudon, joined by 2 of my favorites in this movement, 2 of the smartest women in American politics, Ronna McDaniel and Pam Bondi. And we just heard about the really stark contrast between President Trump and Joe Biden on the future of the American economy. Perhaps there's never been a more stark contrast. Unsurprisingly, however, the mainstream media is running with the same narrative as they did during the 2016 election, that President Trump has no chance and Joe Biden has already won the election. We all remember how that turned out for them, but that's not stopping them from adopting the same flawed outlook this time. However, the campaign just released a memo highlighting the huge enthusiasm gap between President Trump and Joe Biden. Ronna, the mainstream media seems to overwhelmingly discount and sometimes completely, honestly, ignore the massive enthusiasm gap between President Trump and Joe Biden. Discuss with us how Joe Biden's candidacy has a decided lack of enthusiastic support in comparison to the president, and talk about what that means for the election this November.
So we are seeing unprecedented support for President Trump. And just to give you an example, in the primaries this season already, when he's had no challenger, he has already received 2 million more votes than he did in 2016. He has exceeded what President Obama or George Bush had in their reelection campaigns. We're seeing Republicans coming out in droves for this president. On his birthday, we raised $14 million online in small dollar donations, about $41. And we feel it. You know, I feel it on the ground when I get in my car and I go to the grocery store or I talk to people, they say, please tell President Trump I'm with him. We see these boat parades. The energy on the ground is so strong. And just one final number. We've had 6 special elections since 2018 for congressional seats in really tough states. One in California, where we flipped a seat for the first time since 1998 from Democrat to Republican, and then most recently in New York. All of these candidates are running solidly with President Trump. He's campaigning for them, and they have all done better than expected, better than the polls have said. The energy is with us, and Joe Biden continues to sit in his basement with no energy. He couldn't fill an auditorium. He's hiding out, and you can see that in the recent elections last week, where 20% of the voters in Kentucky chose uncommitted rather than supporting Joe Biden for the Democrat nomination.
Yeah. Well, just as an example of that, this enthusiasm gap was highlighted at a Joe Biden event last week in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. There were actually more Trump supporters than Biden supporters outside the event. Let's play this clip from the event. Now, Pam, what does that say to you about Joe Biden's pathetic candidacy? And why does the mainstream media continue to just ignore this reality? I know you see it all the time on the ground. I see it all the time in Florida, rallies for the president when he's not even in town, just impromptu corner rallies or impromptu boat rallies. But why does the media ignore it all the time?
Because it shows that we're winning and they don't want us to win. The mainstream media, they despise the president. He knows that, they know that, and they don't even care. And because the president's trying to undo years of the damage caused by Obama and Biden. You know, the boat parades, we were in Sarasota and I was trying to video one, and there were so many boats, miles and miles of boats. They just kept coming. Then my friends who were in South Florida, who were in Tampa Bay, boats everywhere. Everywhere you go, there are Trump flags. And the media, they just can't bear to report that, the mainstream media, because they despise us so much, because they want the left-wing radicals to take over their country, and we're not going to let them do it. And you know what? We can go beyond them by things like Trump Online.
Right. And that was the same day, by the way, as that record-marking fundraising event that Ronna was telling us about before. And that was the same day as we also had record-marking grassroots day. I know my kids were all hitting doors that day, and they broke all kind of records that day, and the media doesn't report any of that. And you know what? We don't even bother to report it sometimes because we have so many ground-marking, record-breaking days in the Trump campaign that sometimes we can't just even report it all ourselves. Right. Pam, you talked to us about what it would be like if Joe Biden were leading this country.
Right. Well, Ronna talked about the 120 million people, he said, that died from COVID in our country. That's a third of our population. So every time he pops his head up, he says something so crazy like that. What else did Joe Biden say last week? Oh, he demanded that we stop the Cold War. I think he said that last week. And then what else? He said many, many, many things. And let's contrast that with what President Trump did last week. What did he do last week? He suspended he suspended the migrant visas, which was a great thing to support American jobs. He went to Arizona to tour our border. He spoke to young Americans. He did an EO to strengthen foster care. Do you hear the media talk about that? That's amazing. He went to Wisconsin and looked at all the ships we're building in America, American-made warships. Yet they don't talk about that. None of us can keep up with the man. I mean, I think that's just a highlight of what he did last week. Ronna can probably think of about 20 more things he did that were great for the American people. And we hear nothing from Joe Biden because there's nothing to hear, because he makes huge gaffes every time he goes to talk. And, you know, it's funny, but it's not, because it's so serious for the future of our country. If that man became president, well, he wouldn't be president. Other people would be running our country. We know that. The left-wing radical liberals.
Yeah, other people that we didn't elect. Yeah, exactly. All right, we're going to take one final break, and we'll be right back with more Women for Trump Empower Hour. So don't go anywhere, because we'll return to you in just a moment.
Antifa is destroying our communities, rioting, looting. Yet Joe Biden kneels down and his staff sends money for bail. And Biden fails to stand up to the radical leftists fighting to defund and abolish the police. With Biden kneeling to the left, we'd have chaos in the streets. President Trump is standing up for us, keeping our communities safe, protecting minority-owned businesses, and always standing for our flag.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Welcome back to the Women for Trump Empower Hour. I'm Gina Loudon, and I want to shift the conversation to the terrible events that have been taking place across some major American cities in recent weeks. Left-wing mobs are causing absolute chaos and destruction. Joe Biden and the Democrats are dead silent about it. This clip truly captures how radical the Democrats have become.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
If this country doesn't give us what we want, then we will burn down this system.
That is what the word radical really means. I've never been offended. and I embrace that term. We need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department.
We are not answering 911 calls right now to the personnel issues.
Get down! Get down! She's hit! She's hit!
If this country doesn't give us what we want, then we will burn down this system and replace it.
We have an incredible opportunity to not just dig out of this crisis, but to fundamentally transform the country.
Pam, I just have to ask you, why is Joe Biden afraid of standing up to the left-wing mob that is causing this anarchy in recent weeks? Isn't it his job? If he wants to lead this country, shouldn't he be standing up to them?
He has to stand up to them. The answer to your question is because he's controlled by the left-wing radical Democrats. And what you saw on that video, those are crimes. It's looting, it's rioting, they're criminal acts. We have a law and order president. And as a career prosecutor, I take this very seriously, that the man that wants to be our commander in chief really won't come out and condemn these horrible, they're crimes. They're horrible crimes that are being committed, because I think he's scared to, frankly. He's scared to. But what they're doing is horrible for our country. And the guy that wants to lead our country won't come out and condemn it. And it's unacceptable when President Trump is the law and order president, and he has made that crystal clear. In fact, I was there when he signed an executive order. I was in the room protecting our great men and women in law enforcement, giving them more of the tools they need, giving them surplus military equipment. And this was prior to all of this happening. He is our law and order president, and that's why the men and women in blue love and support our president.
Ronna, Joe Biden seems to practically cower to those in his party who are the most radical: AOC, Beto O'Rourke, Julian Castro, Ilhan Omar, just to name a few of them. If he continues to embrace radical policies and cave to the most radical in his party, how in the world can he protect American families as president? And isn't this radical element that seems to be acting out right now, isn't that what we'll continue to see if he were, God forbid, elected president?
Absolutely. You have seen Joe Biden lurch so far left. Like you said, Julian Castro, Beto O'Rourke are throwing a fundraiser for Joe Biden this week. Julian Castro has advocated for open borders, and Beto O'Rourke has said, let's get rid of the Second Amendment. These are things that Joe Biden has embraced when he said, yeah, I'm going to raise my hand so we give health care to anybody who comes here illegally. I'm going to ban deportations. I'm going to embrace the Green New Deal. People try to package Joe Biden as this moderate. He is a progressive, radical liberal, and he has absolutely embraced AOC and Beto and all the liberal elements of the Democrat Party. He will fundamentally transform this country, not to mention talking about raising taxes on the middle class. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It's no wonder he's not speaking out as this unruliness is happening across the country, as these riots are happening across the country. Joe Biden stays silent in his basement because he's so afraid of upsetting AOC and Ilhan, because they really run the Democrat Party right now, not Joe Biden. It is a profile and a lack of leadership that he is showing this country, and exactly why he should not be president.
And meanwhile, you have President Trump putting an end to the lawlessness, restoring order on our streets. He is the law and order president. On Saturday, the DOJ announced charges of 4 men who attempted to tear down a statue of President Andrew Jackson in Washington, D.C. The charges came on the heels of President Trump signing the EO that ensures that any person or group that destroys or vandalizes a monument, memorial, or statue is prosecuted to the fullest extent. How has President Trump stepped up in this moment to keep our communities safe while Joe Biden has bowed to the mob? Pam, in your capacity, of course, as former AG of this great state, I want you to go first.
Well, thank you. And the president he's our law and order president, and he is not going to stand back and watch what happened in Portland when they destroyed the statues of Washington and Jefferson, or in San Francisco when they destroyed Ulysses S. Grant, or in Boston and DC when they want to tear down the Lincoln statue. He's not going to let that happen. That's why he signed that executive order. Let me tell you, those 4 people who were arrested too, that's a federal felony, and they're facing up to 10 years in prison. You know, if you want to discuss whether or not some of these statues should remain, should move to a museum, go somewhere else, have the discussion. You cannot go out and commit a crime. We all saw what happened in Lafayette Park, and it was disgusting, the way they were trying to tear down statues. It's unbelievable what they get away with, and he's not going to let them do it. Yet Joe Biden is completely silent once again on this issue. This is the man that wants to lead our country. No, I'm sorry. It would be AOC, Bernie Sanders, and the rest of them leading the country if he was elected.
All right. And Chairwoman McDaniel?
Yeah, I agree with what Pam is saying. You know, I think what is tearing down statues doing to further the dialogue? And I think that the president has been very vocal that we're going to have law and order, but there's more that needs to be discussed. And President Trump has shown that in his actions. One is school choice. The president has said no child should be their future or their trajectory should be dictated by their zip code that they're born into. Every child should have the opportunity for a good education. Look at what he's done with HBCU loan forgiveness, criminal justice reform. And he has done so much through his actions to further the dialogue, to further our country, especially when it comes to the African-American community. And what you're seeing with this lawlessness that the Democrats refuse to attack is that it's not bringing our country together. It's not uniting us. We're not talking about issues that we can talk about, that we should talk about. And I think it's really shameful to see the silence from the Democrats. But of course, this is the party, Joe Biden is leading it now, that has said, let's abolish ICE and let's defund the police. And this is not making our country any safer or better. It's just creating lawlessness. And you look at Seattle right now with this zone, this CHOP zone with no police. The mayor has, given up all her authority, and you're already having people being killed and the police have nowhere to go. And who's going to want to live in a community like that long term? President Trump is exactly right to be the law and order president.
And they're trying to overthrow the government in these cities.
Yep.
And Joe Biden is sitting there doing nothing. Could you imagine that happening to every major city in our country if that guy was the president of the United States?
Shouldn't surprise us maybe when the guy can't even read a prompter on his softball interview that he can't exactly lead in a really serious situation. But it's a great anecdote as to what would be to come if, God forbid, he were elected president. But anyway, we need your help to defend our great country that we worked all of us so hard to build to where it is against Joe Biden and the radical Democrats. The stakes could not be any higher, and we need everybody at home, the patriots at home watching right now, to join our fight to re-elect President Donald J. Trump. And here is how you can get involved. You can download our new groundbreaking Trump 2020 app if you haven't already, and it's now available on Apple and Android. And you can stay in contact with us by texting EMPOWER, the word EMPOWER, to 88022. And if you think your friends, your family, your neighbors want to get involved in our fight to re-elect President Donald J. Trump, just visit any of our armyfortrump.com and you can sign up there. And ladies, I want to ask you, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to leave our American people with today?
Women for Trump. Join Women for Trump. We would love for you to join Women for Trump. And I think very soon everybody's going to be seeing all of us in Florida. And when we're there, I hope you all come out and join us and have a safe, fun, positive event for the president.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us. I love this country. We have a president who loves this country, and this is an election of our lifetime. It's going to dictate which America we live in. And when people say we can't be Venezuela, we can't go down that path, I think they're wrong. We have to protect our freedoms. We have to protect our country. And Donald Trump is exactly the right leader to do it. But we need you to go fight. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, be bold. We need everyone engaged if we're going to win this battle against the media, the Democrats, and of course, Joe Biden.
Absolutely. I want to thank both of you for being with us tonight, and a special thank you to those of you watching at home tonight. Our choices have never been more clear, and thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us. We look forward to seeing you all next time, and God bless each and every one of you. Thanks so much.
God bless.
Thank you. God bless.